Your attention, please. Before we get started, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? It's 9:04. We could start our meeting, please. The City of Carrizo Springs will meet in special session on June 5th, 2015 at 9 a.m. at the City Hall Municipal Building, 308 West Peña Street, Carrizo Springs, Texas, 78834. We can call our meeting to order. We'll start with our roll call. We can start from our right-hand side. Andres Sanchez.
Johnny Patlan.
Lidia Sainz.
Garza.
Adrián de León.
Brennan Compañere.
Mario Chavez.
Okay, we do have a quorum. At this time, I'd like to welcome our guests in the house, Spider, Mr. Sainz, everybody in attendance. We're videotaped. I'd like to send a shout out to everybody back home on Facebook, YouTube. Un gran saludo cariñoso para toda la gente de la ciudad de Carrizo Springs y también dice Martín para todas las muchachas más bonitas del mundo de Carrizo Springs. Y también dice Mario para todas las exquisitas y gorditas que usan tacón también y flaquitas. Muchas gracias a todos. If we could please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can start with our action items. 5.1, discussion and appropriate action to provide City Council with status of City Manager's report of possible criminal violations of appropriate law enforcement agencies.
Okay, Mayor. In the last meeting, I did bring before council that about a few days before I had sent a letter to you in my official capacity as city manager to start an investigation against the city for possible corruption. And then we had a meeting and I discussed it with the council. And actually seek the blessing and approval of the council to proceed with that as well. Although it wasn't required to have the approval of council, I still did it because I was going to do it anyways. And so the only update that I have for you today is that it is now a full-blown investigation of corruption that has been here for some time now. I won't give you any of the details of it because that's all information that I have.
And we're talking about 2000.
Well, we're talking about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years worth is what we're talking about. We're talking about things that have been here in place for a long time. A very tight-knit system that was in place that was pretty hush-hush. And so, as I came into this position, I came into a lot of information, and it is what it is. So in my capacity, that's what I did. I initiated that. I'm glad that I did. Well, it was even before the meeting. It was even before the last meeting. Things that just I felt that needed to be done. Because I did initiate that, I do fall under the Whistleblower Act. And because I do, I'm informing you all today, which I will inform the new council, that if you're not familiar with the Whistleblower Act, I think that you need to research it. If you should decide to take any retaliation against me, should you decide to terminate me, because I have initiated this investigation against the city, that's strictly up to you, and whatever you decide you want to do. I did what I felt was in the best interest for the city, based on the information I have collected in the 11 months that I have been here.
Federal law, Texas law, federal law.
So that's about it. I won't entertain any questions, and I won't answer them either.
Thank much, and you have our blessing moving forward. Moving on to 5.2, discussion and appropriate action to approve 150th year anniversary of Dimmitt County and 4th of July budget, and to close streets for the event as follows. 5th Street from Highway 277 to English Street, Nopal Street from 4th Street to 6th Street, Alamo Street from 4th Street to 6th Street, Houston Street from 4th Street to 6th Street.
So we'll have Maria Santos come on up, and,
Before,
she
I want
works,
to ask a question. I wish legal was here. This statement is incorrect.
the
It's
legal.
not Dimmitt County. It is the City of Carrizo Springs.
What now?
So
Sorry.
It's not Dimmitt County.
What, I don't understand anything you just said.
The statement that you said, discussion appropriate action to approve 150th anniversary of Dimmitt County, that is incorrect.
The City of Carrizo Springs.
It should be the City of Carrizo Springs, so I don't know that we should discuss it because you posted it as Dimmitt County. I wish legal was here so we could ask him.
Well, let me get him on the phone. Let's ask him. Why don't we do that?
That is an incorrect statement, and not that I don't want to, but that should be the City of Carrizo. Dimmitt County was incorporated in 1980, not 1865.
What does it say there, 1865?
150-year anniversary of 1865 for the city.
1865?
For the city.
Yes.
The county was 1880. We celebrated, the county celebrated their 100-year anniversary in 1980. So this is incorrect as far as Dimmitt County goes.
Duly noted.
So
It's
before we proceed,
clerk.
So in other words,
It's a clerk.
so he's saying that rather than us putting the City of Carrizo Springs,
No,
we needed to
he
put the
wants
City
the
of
City
Carrizo
of
Springs, not
Carrizo
Dimmitt County.
Springs, not Dimmitt County, even though City of Carrizo Springs is within Dimmitt County.
It doesn't matter.
Dimmitt County doesn't have anything to do with it.
Well, why don't we ask instead of, arguing a little bit, confrontational,
want it clear.
why don't we
This is clarified,
yeah, we'll do
that
that.
when you put it on the agenda, you put it as Dimmitt County, okay? It should have been the City of Carrizo Springs.
Well, why don't we ask the attorney that? Would you want his advice
Why is
after
it
all?
he not here?
Because he's available by phone.
Go ahead.
My apologies, Maria. I have no idea what they were coming forward with this. Looked out the agenda more than in advance to have brought the issue up, so I apologize to you. Hi, how are you? Good morning. We're doing well. We just got started with the meeting, and I've got two councilmen, both Mr. Batlan and Mr. Sanchez, who have raised a concern on one of our items, which is 5.2. The item reads discussion and appropriate action to approve 150th year anniversary of Dimmitt County and the 4th of July budget and to close streets for the event as follows. Now, their issue is that the 150th year anniversary is of the City of Carrizo Springs. So basically, they're saying that the clerical error on the item is that it should read the City of Carrizo Springs, not Dimmitt County. So what they're asking is, can we proceed with the item as it reads, or should we table the item so we can go back and correct the clerical error, which should reflect the City of Carrizo Springs? Is that correct, gentlemen?
Yes,
Okay.
and also make sure that it doesn't violate the Open Meetings Act.
Would you mind if I put you on speaker so that they're able to hear you as well? Okay, just a second. I'm gonna put him on speaker. This is Mr. Sanchez. Okay, Mr. Sanchez, you're on speaker.
Good morning, Council. I received a question that was posed to Mr. Benjamin. The agenda is to conduct the debate for the City of Carrizo Springs. Although the agenda should reflect basically by the city, it's clear that the action is contemplated on behalf of the city as opposed to being presented from the city. So, more confident your guys are taking some actions. That's why
Okay, thank you so much.
He won't violate the Open Meetings Act because it was misstated.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanchez.
Anybody have any other questions? Would you want, I've got enough charge on my phone, would you want me just to keep them on the phone?
Yeah.
Mr. Sanchez, I'm just gonna keep my phone here. I'm gonna keep you on speaker, just because the question was asked as to why you were not here. I looked at the agenda, I just didn't feel like the city needed to incur an expense to bring an attorney for today's meeting, because there's not really enough items really to, correct,
I asked you if you
correct,
wanted counsel.
exactly,
You indicated that,
yes.
was a short agenda.
Correct. So I'm just gonna keep you here. My phone is gonna be in the center of the table, so the council is free to ask you any questions. And I've got a little mic here. I'm gonna kind of face down towards the cell phone as well. So that way you're also recorded with whatever you need to say, okay? All right, so we're gonna continue. Okay, so, I'm sorry, Maria. You may proceed now with your presentation.
Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, sir. As you can see on the budget that Ms. Diaz has prepared, is itemized as per the entertainment and any other expenses that will be incurred. We also have included an incidental line item, because there's always things that we forget. If you have any questions regarding those items?
Tell us a little bit about what you guys have done, how you formed the committee, what your, because this is really what was something that was brought up at Mr. Tanan initially. Remember, he had mentioned at one point in our meeting, that, there was a celebration of 150 years of the city in existence. And, I don't want to put any words into his mouth, but I think from the impression that I gathered is that we should have celebrated, done something for the city. So the girls have gotten together as a committee, and they have planned out this spectacular thing. They've gone to Commissioner's Court. They now have even the support of the Commissioner's Court to do this. So please share with them the time and the effort and things that you've done to put this together.
I think it was Mr. Batlan that brought it to the attention of Mr. Chavez, and Mr. Chavez brought it to our attention at a staff meeting on Monday morning. And we started small. It was just a small little parade and a little festival, but as we started, it kept growing and growing and growing until it's what it is today. We are planning to close, with your approval, 5th Street all the way from the courthouse to the old HEB. We will be having 2 stages, the main stage being at the HEB, which is where all the bands will be performing. The family-orientated area will be over here by the courthouse. And that's where we have everything for the kiddies and the families. We will also have some biker groups that have expressed interest in coming and displaying their motorcycles. So that will be around the Capital Bank parking area. We have some vendors that have already expressed interest in participating, and they will be all along 5th Street. We have a lot of different things planned. We have a lineup of music, pie eating contest, watermelon contest. Those are more for the family orientated. We have a pageant that's going to be going on also for the small children. I believe it's up to age 5. And we have also an entertainer that imitates Michael Jackson. I believe that's what it is.
It's not me.
No, sir, it's not you.
What he's from.
And we end the evening with a firework display. It's a little bit bigger than what usually has been done, but it's going to be very, very nice. And then the closing music group will be Signal.
Okay, Maria, so you're gonna close 4th Street?
Okay. We're gonna close 4th Street
to
going
6th.
up,
Yes, ma'am.
because that's gonna be, if we need for more family and more kiddie stuff.
So none of
Going
this
up.
is gonna be held at the city park?
Yes.
Yes, we are going to hold some things out there. The opening ceremony, which is a dedication for the veterans. We are also going to have music out there for that duration of the time, of the day.
That's where you'll hold the 4th of July firecracker.
At the end,
Display.
yes. It'll be at the park, or around that area.
So there's gonna be music going on all day,
Yes, sir.
and where is it gonna be located?
Right there across from the old HEB. That's the main stage for the music. And it's going to be with the speakers coming this way towards
South.
south.
And then you're gonna have some more music at the...
That'll be in the morning, I believe, for the opening ceremony, when we do the dedication to the veterans.
I know that there's 8 groups.
Yes, sir.
How long are they gonna play?
I believe it's a 2-hour segment.
Why in the world would Signal charge $15,000 for 2 hours?
That is their going rate.
I mean, I don't have any problem with it, but that amount of money, I think, is too much for a lot of these groups. What's that BLC equipment?
That is the stages and all the lighting stages. They need to have their, especially at night.
You're talking about like a 40 or 60 by 60 stage with lights around the front. So the equipment is already provided to every band,
Yes, sir. They just go up there and play.
and it wouldn't break down, or is it already
One company is providing the stage and the lighting and everything for all of them.
and with these bands being is it negotiable? Is this price or that's
I believe it's already set.
Each group is gonna play for how long?
I believe it's 2 hours.
And we're providing everything for them. They're not having to bring anything. And they're still charging us this much.
well, I for one, for a 150-year city celebration, I think it's something that maybe our founding fathers, would appreciate. I know that this is a one-time. Right?
Yes.
It's a one-time event.
The 150, yes. That's why we're going really big on this, because it is the 150-year celebration of Carrizo Springs being established.
I think it's important also to say that we're using the hotel motel monies that have been pretty stagnated for smaller events, smaller stuff like that. It won't affect city budget, but the hotel motel monies that we have in place right now will pay for this whole event. As long as we advertise outside the city limits,
And we have.
as long as we bring people, heads to beds, and maintain, everything that's going on with the motels and what their growth is gonna be.
They have, all the motels here have been very cooperative. They are even providing a promotional code for the residents or the people that come in and visit. They give that promotional code and they're gonna get a discount. They have an allocated certain number of rooms for all of these people that will coming in.
From out of town.
Yes.
What about the families that first came from somewhere? The 15 original families, the
English
Englishes
family.
and I don't know where, they don't have any, they're not gonna.
They will be on our t-shirts. On the t-shirts that we're going to be buying, it's going to have the picture of the 150 year in the front, and it's going to have the history in the back.
They've also been invited to the event.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, they have.
Plans have been made to at least present the name to the families?
Yes.
Whatever.
Well, I for one, I am all for it. I do want to open this up for discussion a little more. I understand these rates, and I do know that this Signal is a very famous band, and I
Yes.
think it would attract.
That has
bigger
already
numbers.
been one of the main discussions when everybody calls us in. Are you sure it's Signal? It's not an imitation. No, it's the real group.
And this is a Saturday, or is this?
Yes, sir, it is.
I know that it seems like a lot. Your grand total is 120,000.
Including the incidentals, yes. And that is not a for sure that we're going to be using.
So it would go down to 93,000.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, do you plan to cover any of this money at all?
Yes, sir, we are. We will be selling some of the t-shirts. We will also be selling some of the promotional items. We will be selling the waters, the sodas. That is going to be all revenue that's going to be coming back to the city.
Who will be selling it? Employees, city employees?
Ourselves, we're going to be volunteering that day and running the booths, running the whole event.
And also the booths, those.
And they
monies are
have a
gonna
fee.
come in.
The vendors have a fee of $50.
So that's additional.
That's revenue coming in, yes.
How many vendors do you have up to now?
Right now, I'm not taking care of that in, but I believe we have like about 20 as of right now. And I know they're calling in or emailing us every day.
And it's a free event to everybody?
Yes, sir. Entry is free. However, we will have security at the doors, at the gates, making sure that they do not bring any outside food or beverages.
So it would be gated?
Yes, sir.
So with a, mark,
Mhm.
with a fence or
Yes,
with?
Yes,
fence.
fence.
Right.
And of course, we do need to make sure that as our employees attend this event, that they volunteer their time,
Yes.
that the people that are volunteering their time are the people that are salaried. The people that are hourly do not volunteer their time. They do need to get paid.
Right
So
now, it's
we need to
mainly
make
salary
sure
employees.
that we coordinate that accordingly. And then, of course, everything is still in the works. There's no planning, but
This is all a new event and a new adventure for us. We've never done anything this big. You all have experience with doing little jamaicas and stuff, but this is big.
it's huge. It's very nice. We won't be around to see the next 150,
Where,
you know, so.
you had the, I think the question was raised about, statement was made about having a parade. Where is the parade gonna be held?
It's going to be the normal route, starts over there by the cemetery, comes down, I believe it's Houston, and then it's going to go 2 streets up, which will be around the Civic Center, and in there. We're not gonna cross it, over to the highway,
So it's gonna come down on, was it Sixth Street, Sixth or Seventh?
6 or 7?
yes.
And again, the schools are gonna be involved in it, even though they're out of school already?
Yes, we have, the dancers, the wild dancers, they called us if they wanted to participate in the parade and performing at the event.
And
So
again,
they're also in our
for the
lineup.
hotel motel monies, we have to draw outside people coming into the community.
Real long, so I'm just trying to-
Have you reached out to Crystal City?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We
sir.
reach out
All
to
of
other
them.
communities.
All the surrounding communities as far as Del Rio,
San
Laredo,
Antonio.
San Antonio, and everything in between. Yes, sir.
I guess
This
if
is
you,
generations.
you know, Mr. Balan, if you think about it, you know, Crystal City every year has this spinach festival, you know, and every year they coordinate it. I'm sure that there's a lot of monies that go into coordinating that, and it's always a success for them, and they have vendors, and they have bands and everything, and it's just something that happens in Crystal City that even the people from Carrizo get excited over, and the surrounding areas. And so Carrizo is not known for that. You know, as you stated, you have jamaicas and different things like that, but, you know, of course, I can't say that this event's gonna take place every year, because it's not 150 years every year, but it is a grand event. So if you wanna make a decision today, a sound decision today, it needs to base it on the fact that, number one, it is a celebration of 150 years. Number two, there are monies in the hotel motel fund to cover this expense. We've been very generous to offer some of these monies to some of the local organizations that we have. But you are doing something great. And so while the amount may sound like it's a huge amount, the city is doing something wonderful, and it's celebrating the 150th year.
Now, Maria, have you tried to attract a carnival?
Yes, sir, they will not come for a one-day event. So that's something that's gonna be in the planning for next year. It has to be a minimum of 2 days. So we did try.
And the final, where is Sigma gonna play? At the city park or?
No, over here, at the HB. It will be the closing ceremony.
We were also thinking about our local talent, the local groups that are gonna be able to play, they'll be playing at the park.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have them.
That's why I think, you know, if we can cut some of that, especially Sigma, you know, I don't know that I've listened to him, but, I just think that's a little too steep. And yes, it's gonna be covered with hotel and motel money, but we're still responsible for that. It needs to be used wisely. And I'm not saying this is not a huge event, it is. But we need to be conservative, we need to make sure that we are spending it properly. That's my main concern. Are you sure you can't find a stage for less than that?
We already tried, unless we do a homemade stage with all the lighting that is required, the speakers that are required, the backdrop that's required, we don't have the means to provide that.
Okay, are we gonna be selling beer?
Yes,
Okay, have y'all reached out to a beer company?
that's already done, it's already in the works. It's with the gentleman that's going to provide the food.
He provides the license and everything?
He's got everything. we
And
have
as
no
we
liability for
continue to
that.
look for sponsors, we'll have different events that are gonna be sponsored by sponsors that will bring them also monies into the city. So we'll kind of, even though it's a free event, we're still going out to get sponsors, to sponsor the main stages, to sponsor all these other things. It's gonna be a work until the day, actually after, that we continue to look for these oil companies and outside companies. I know the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber has been wanting to be involved in this. And there's other chambers that are coming together to generally, including our own, you know, and we're just putting ourselves out there where we can be known as a community.
I do notice that you have security. We will have,
Some of them will have to get paid.
yes, $4,000.
Yes,
Okay, so we do have sufficient, we will have.
they're law enforcement.
How many people do you think will attend? What is your goal?
Attend?
5,000? 2,000?
I think that,
Well,
just for
anytime you
Signal.
have just a signal,
Signal group is gonna
not that I've
attract
ever gone to any of
the
their
Signal
dances,
group.
but
I'm thinking
anytime you
from
have a group
3
like
to
that,
5.
3 to
you're
5,000?
gonna have a
The
lot of
way
people,
that they have
especially
been
because
calling
it's
us,
Right?
it's getting a lot of PR because of that group. That group is bringing the people in.
it's gonna be huge. I don't think you even understand the magnitude of this event and what you're gonna see.
We made contact with the lady that runs the Spanish Festival, and she has guided us very well.
She's coordinating
She's
a lot of
helping
this.
us coordinate all the
The
final
same person
touches.
that does it for the Spanish Festival is
As-
coordinating this event.
As far as the budget goes, we're not even close to half of what they spent.
Right.
Of course, but they're a 2 or 3 day event. Okay.
I have a question on the, whoever's going to provide, as you mentioned, the beer or the alcoholic beverage, but there's a liability
They got it.
in there. They
They're
got it?
covered. Yes, sir.
Okay, so, in essence, are they a vendor? Are they keeping their profits?
Yes, sir. In lieu of some of the funds for the stage. That is why they're providing both stages.
So they're selling the alcohol, but they're also providing the expense of us having the
Yeah, the
stages.
stages is really a lot more than that.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
I have a question for the lawyer. Mr. Sanchez,
Yes, sir.
even though this promoter, the person providing the stage that's gonna be selling the beer and assuming the responsibility for the license and all that, is there any way that the city would be liable for anything, even though he says that he's liable for everything?
One way to ensure that the city is protected is to have very strong contract or agreement between the city and this vendor. One of the recommendations I would make is that you be required to furnish any appropriate license and or insurance policy to cover any potential liability that may create acts or omissions. Generally, though, the city is from negligent claims or tort claims because of what's known as soft immunity. It always has to have a very well agreement between the city and all of your vendors, to be honest.
Right.
That's specifically stipulated. If you're going to do business with the city, you're required to have all applicable licenses, and you're required to furnish a minimum insurance policy. So, for example, this vendor has a truck, and if one of the workers is backing it up in another vehicle or city building or something along those lines, if their insurance, they can take advantage of it and say, well, we want to submit a claim damage to another vehicle or damage to a citizen vehicle, we need to submit the claim and obtain reimbursement. So we'd be happy to help the city in making sure that all of the vendors are the city is providing appropriate insurance coverage.
And it would be not only every single vendor that's doing business and every single group that's playing, everybody involved in it will have to sign this contract, right?
Well, if you want to use the person, you just need to requestation that you have one groups, one volunteer groups, for example, your bikers, your Boy Scouts, your VFW, they're participating, those are charitable groups, events, want to do is have your city staff identify, because the big vendors look at, the beer vendors are bringing things to us, folks that are, for example, constructing the stage and lighting, God forbid, any of those, items were malfunction or all, it is something we want those people to be able to have, some sort of responsibility to the city and its citizens, right?
Sure.
And that's something that's done, not just by the city, you live in any county, district, to make sure that your those are going to stay in attending. Sounds like a wonderful plan. I definitely would have to be back in. Then, that makes a lot of money. They're providing services that they should be prepared to get your content. And your money, and we have an insurance policy.
Mr. Sanchez, Mayor de Leon, I was gonna ask you, food vendors, should they, have all, food and health licenses? Or is it is that something that maybe, falls under charitable group vendors to where we may not have to, ask them to provide one, or I know that in big city, food vendors, they do provide their health inspection license.
Almost certainly, you want to make sure that all of your vendors, especially the food vendors, are complying with your municipal ordinance regarding preparation. You should have their license if you operate that in accordance with the ordinance. They should be warned or provide notice that the city reserves the right to conduct inspections. I think the city manager has a staff of individuals that can ensure that your vendors that are setting up even a small amount of top vendors to observe the minimum requirements imposed in the ordinance for food safety, food preparation, sanitation.
Sir, and one of the things that I'm really concerned about is, since they're gonna be selling beer, that somebody gets in their car after the event, hope not that they get in an accident, we would be protected from that also, right?
Well, you bring a good point. Anytime you have alcoholic beverages involved, about safety and about consumption of alcohol, we'll see prices. Anyone that serves alcohol should be subject, and they should be reviewed, TBC certification. And after you have your license, and taking the TBC through the course, I think it's now vendors themselves. I've done it myself. So anytime we have festivals, we take those programs, those training courses, to ensure that the alcohol is served responsibly. And of course, having a law enforcement presence is also very important. But it's when you have a festival up there, people see that there are law enforcement officials, that it reassures folks that
Not
there
to,
is a safe environment to folks to be more careful and cautious about consumption of alcohol.
yes, sir.
And, we all see those commercials, drink responsibly, be responsible with your consumption. So, making sure that your vendors and those people that are serving alcohol are licensed and have proper TBC certification is critical. You can be cited for serving alcohol in violation of the TBC code. So these vendors need to remind you. Make sure you got have a group that's going to be selling alcohol beverages. They comply with all aspects of TBC rules. I dealt with the local office here in San Diego, very helpful. Providing nurture and making sure people are trained. There's an online training course that I've taken myself that helps in that respect for your volunteers.
But Mr. Sanchez, I know that at one time we used to sell beer at the Church Jamaica, and then we quit that. But that didn't prevent people from having their beer in their car and getting drunk anyway. So what do we do there? I mean,
There's not much that can be done other than enforcing your local laws. I mean, you hate to be so strict that, people don't have a good time. And we all know that it's probably a violation of city ordinance.
Sure.
Alcohol on public property, so they can be cited if they're parking the city hall parking lot or they're parking across the street from the courthouse. That's most likely to get involved. But you're not going to get stopped all day, right? I mean, unless you have an army of officers, you're really going to do that. I think.
do we have to sell beer?
Go ahead.
No, I'm asking Ms. Santos here, do we have to have beer?
If we don't, but it's something that comes with the festival.
Well, I myself would be in favor of not selling beer at all, not providing any beer, because if we want to make this a family event, then beer should be out of picture. And not only that, but even though we have contracts or liabilities, insurances and all this, I think the city stands to lose in the long run. And yes, the beer will bring more money, but I just don't think that it's worth the headache of having to worry about it.
Okay, Mr. Sanchez, is it, okay, say, there's a councilman, in favor of not selling beer, okay, could we permit the outside public to bring their own beer?
That's your municipal code and local law. I thought that I'm not familiar with what your code says. Generally speaking, it is prohibited to drink beer public anywhere. So I would be careful with that. If the will of the council is to not have alcohol served, and there are good reasons to do it, they simply say, alcohol is prohibited. I would take it a step further and say, you're welcome to bring beer, you're welcome to. I would think like that, because it's almost like taking people to do it. Simply saying that it's a corporate corporation. It's a family car, and alcohol beverages is prohibited. Plain and simple.
Okay, Mark, what about if something happens to someone going from the celebration and has a wreck and is drunk?
Even though we don't sell?
Since we're not selling it, then we're not responsible.
Correct.
Okay.
It has to be an alcohol-free festival or event. That's your best event. But this is not an alcohol sponsored event. And any did so will be intoxicated on their own, not because the city provided alcohol or open key vendors provided alcohol.
Okay,
That would be very clear. That would be very clear to the man. And you're right, you're not going to stop all that. You're not going to stop it. You're going to have people, they're going to have the light set wrong or whatever.
Yeah, Mr. Sanchez, I've been to many 4th of July events here in our city park, and the people are walking around with their beer in their hand, with nice chests. So you're right, we probably will, it will be hard to completely prevent it. We have another councilman that has a question.
Mr. Sanchez, suppose we post signs of, just to say, no alcoholic beverage will be consumed or shall be consumed in the parade grounds. Can we say that?
Yeah, that would be that if you're going to have an alcohol-free event on a host and anytime that it's advertised in the newspaper or on the radio or on the city website, but in the environment, alcohol beverages is prohibited.
Okay.
Would that reduce the city of any liability of any occurrence?
Excuse me real quick, Mr. Sanchez. So Maria, you're saying the DLC equipment it's tied into the beer company?
Yes,
So you would have to
it's
talk.
the same owner.
We
It's the
just
same
go
owner
back
that
and
has.
renegotiate with them.
But that'd be something y'all do.
Yeah, it's something we can come back and negotiate, if we decide not to go with the alcohol-free event, then we go back and talk to them and tell them.
On the stages and.
Well, maybe you could keep the price, if you could work, negotiate, keep this price at that level, even though, it's, you know, we might take a different action towards something.
I think the key thing here is I understand about the beer and we respect that and we would follow that. I think we wanna revitalize our downtown, celebrate our 150th anniversary, and alcohol doesn't have to be a part of it. We can do everything else that we plan to do and still continue to go this direction. And if beer is not a part of it, we'll just go back and negotiate with them and go with that. What we were doing is, we were following we didn't wanna fumble as the first day with the Spanish Festival, and that was part of that back then, seeing how slowly they didn't have a stage, they didn't have this, but that's kinda like, we need the fumble before we start the walk.
Sure, no,
So we're gonna go back and negotiate.
Like the attorney says, we probably won't be 100%, we won't be able to 100% stop the public, because once it gets dark, City Park, you're gonna be holding your fireworks displays as well. So we're probably not gonna be able to stop them there either.
Right.
Just as long as we have signs, and
Right.
we give them shirts, and we publicize and educate the people that we will not be selling beer. Is that okay with y'all?
We'll take it back to the committee. I mean, if that is your final decision, we
No,
have to
we
abide
haven't,
by it.
we haven't decided, we're just saying to do it.
Whatever you.
It just needs to be advertised and stipulated on there that it's a alcohol and drug-free event, family event. Alcohol and drug-free.
I have one other question. Suppose BLC says, well, if we don't sell alcohol, then we can go. We just tell them, no.
I'm sure you can find somebody else. I'm sure there'll be
Someone else with
some,
stages.
yeah.
I'm sure there is. Yes.
Okay.
So I think, Mayor and Council, you really have one or two options today. You can A, table your item and allow the committee to get back together so that she can take back the feedback that you stated today and make the appropriate changes so that a future meeting can be scheduled, and then the council can decide then, this is what we wanna do. Or you can take action on it today based on some of the things that you've already
Okay.
stipulated, which is the
Okay.
event to be an alcohol-free event. So you have two options here. You don't have to decide, but they are in the plans.
Okay, Maria, you're saying it's in less than a month, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, these bands they need their contract, or else they're gonna go play somewhere else.
Yes, sir.
Let me, going back to the alcohol issue, and I think everybody's stated, the course of driving after leaving the event. And I've seen this at ballparks, seen other places, where you can go, and the designated driver, you give him a red band. You don't sell him alcohol. You see him. I've seen that in a lot of places, and I've seen it in ballparks. Designated driver, okay?
I believe, when that happens, they get like, all other beverages free,
Free.
non-alcoholic
Yeah,
beverages.
non-alcoholic, you can get water, they can get soda, or whatever. I'm the designated driver, we're wearing that red band, I'm in this group. She was saying, I mean, that's just something to think about. Because I know that, you know what's gonna happen, nothing that I may not want is alcohol. You say you're not gonna sell alcohol. I don't wanna go. That may turn off a lot, I don't know how many people will not come for that reason. They wanna sit and listen to the music, they want a beer in their hand.
And I think it's what they said, is this is not a dry county, you know, and if it were, then it's, if they wanna drink beer, they're gonna drink beer.
They won't drink it regardless. I mean, the only reason I bring that up, that is something to think about, if we can implement some kind of a program like that.
That'll be part of our
Incidental.
negotiations when we go back to them, to ask them that we designate the free, drinks, non-alcoholic drinks to designated driver.
That's what we're gonna be selling. So that's a,
Something.
yeah, we, That would not be a problem with us, as far as giving to the designated drivers, free beverages all night.
But have a place where this designated drivers can go and get.
Band.
And of course, hey, I'm a designated, you're not gonna give them 4 or 5 drinks. You're a designated driver, you want a soda, give you a soda. One soda, one water,
Exactly.
every time you go, but you're not giving 4 or 5, no.
It's a very sticky subject, but I think that the main thing here is to remove the liability from the city.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, yeah.
And if we advertise it, that no alcoholic consumption in the parade grounds or in the festivity grounds, then whoever does it takes it on the road.
But I really think that, and I know we're short on time, but I really think we need to table this and get back with the committee as soon as possible, to clarify this with that stage vendor and get a clear picture of it.
How do you feel? I know you're pressed for time, you know, you're talking 2 to 3 weeks.
We don't have any time to spare.
I'm all for it. I do believe it's a important event. I don't believe we should table it. I think that this should be, we should move forward today. I do believe that we have ironed out, the alcohol, our alcoholic beverages and a drug-free event. If I could get a motion, so far as,
I have one other question. It may sound funny to a lot of people, and all these expenses, and I guess it's gonna fall under incidental, the supportable battles. I don't see anything in there for portable
That is
battles.
donated, sir.
Yeah, okay, well, I
They're
didn't see
donated.
it.
TD Rentals has donated 30 porta potties.
I did not see them on here, and it's
Okay, Johnny, so you think that we should sell the beer?
well,
And
I mean, that's,
have, like,
I don't know,
designated-
I don't know if it'll help draw more people. I know it's gonna turn off a lot of people. You know, there's some people when they turned off and they say no alcohol. And I realize where you're coming from as far as the event goes. The only thing my suggestion was, you know, something to think about was that designated driver, but if you don't want it, the majority of the council doesn't want it.
I don't think that it's going to stop it completely. Somebody's gonna bring something. And they'll probably consume it, but at least, if we say no alcoholic consumption, at least they'll remove the liability from the city. From there on, if they want to drink it, you're not gonna be able to stop it.
Mr. Sanchez, okay, you say that if we have a contract from these people, can we make it to where we're really covered to not be liable?
Yes, because it was a contract here. You know, our responsibility at the city bill of the correct contract, so much so that you can hear it fine. But the point being is, your staff and your legal counsel will make sure that the city is properly blanketed with protection looking forward. And the thing that you're asking, that is insurance coverage and home indemnity protection is pretty common. And these vendors provide services, so it's not like we're going to be asking them to do things they haven't heard of. It's simply something order or cover. They provide all applicable insurance to cover any accident omissions that they or any of their employees engage in that may result in liability to the city. So that can be done. We need to keep moving on it pretty quickly because I understand that this is 4th of July, so we're under 30 days, right near 30 days.
I make a motion that we proceed with the way this celebration was planned. And as long as the attorney says that there is ways that they can protect the city if we sell the beer.
And I think on your motion, you should also just stipulate contingent upon the attorney reviewing all the contracts for the verbiage, making sure that the contracts are well-written, that they are protecting the city from any type of liability. I think that, all insurance policies need to be checked out, all licenses, everything, all Ts need to be crossed and Is need to be dotted before we can proceed. I think that that should be also part of the motion, so that if none of that is done, then you are stating that we should not proceed with that. Because all that needs to be done to save the city from any type of liability.
So moved.
If I may add, Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Gonzales, given that these contracts have yet to be reviewed and presented, I recommend they actually be brought back to the council, so that you can see yourself and have a presentation on each contract and how the city is protected.
Sure, so you're saying, it's okay to move forward, but just as long as these all contracts come back to you, come back to the table.
You're the council, so any contract with the city and the vendor has to be approved by the council unless you designate and the city manager decides on their behalf. But given the interest that the council has, I think it'd be appropriate that they would be agreed and have a presentation on contracts that are out there. So each of you that have asked questions can have an answer.
Okay.
Well, for time purposes, Mayor,
Yeah, yes, no, I understand.
for time purposes, if you designate me to work with the attorney and the committee, then we can get these contracts signed. If you give me that direction to save them time, because they are short on their time,
Yes.
if you do that, then.
And the only one concerned here would be BLC, they're the only one that's gonna bring in the alcohol. So,
But I still think that it's, you need to negotiate with VLC as far as, give us a price on if we sell beer and if we don't sell beer. Check on that, and then get back with the council and let them decide for sure which way they're gonna go.
Well, we do have a motion on the table right now, but, excuse me?
Yeah, I believe Councilman Gonzales made a motion, so that's on the table. I did not hear a second.
Okay, do we have a second?
well, you made a motion to go along to sell the beer that they want.
Thank
Well,
you.
I want to second that with stipulation that on the question to BLC, that Ms. Sanchez put up,
That it be brought back to the council to check the price difference,
Beer or no beer?
beer and no
do
beer.
agree to that.
Well, so what,
Do you
Well, I
want it
think
to be dealt with me
yeah, that's what I'm saying, I
for
think
time purposes?
to move forward faster.
Yeah, because they don't have enough time.
Okay.
I know that.
So if you'll stipulate that as part of your
I
motion,
realize
then I
that,
can work with the attorneys, work with the committee. I can keep the council obviously informed of what.
Everything that you,
Well,
y'all
no.
have.
I'm gonna second this motion then the sign and let Ms. Compagnon work out with the
Yes, but with council approval, man.
That's gonna be up to the motion. Her motion is to allow me to work with the attorney and enter into an agreement for time purposes, so.
You know, we don't have the time.
Well, it's still the council needs to be informed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely I can
they'll be
inform the council. Yeah.
Would you,
If I may, since avoiding confusion, ask against signs to restate a motion. Keep in mind, council members, the motion's made. It can only be seconded or not seconded. Any changes to the motion or modification have to be made by the signs.
Yourself.
Motion.
okay,
So we can restate your motion so that I understand what it is that you're proposing.
Okay. I am proposing that we go along with the budget and the recommendation from Mary Santos for this celebration. And have Brenda, the city manager, get together with you and oversee all the contracts and keep the council informed.
Before you find a decision.
Include alcohol.
Okay, we do have a motion on the table made by Mrs. Sines. We do have a second. We have a motion made by Mrs. Sines and it's been seconded by Mr. Garza.
Mayor.
Discussion.
Maria, may I again implore you that when you do discuss this with PLC, ask them about this designated driver, if they or who, either them or somebody set up a booth to get the designated driver. Look at this program.
I do know that, this company, they have, the bands,
Okay,
and they verified the legal age.
okay.
All of his people that he has working have already been certified by
CATAC.
They are certified because he uses them on every event that he hosts, and along with his private business. And as far as the free beverages, that'll be up to us because we're the ones that are going to be selling the waters and sodas.
Well, I think that would be a good idea. I mean, if you're wearing a band, you know, you can walk up, you want a soda, hey, can I have a soda? Can I
That
have
wouldn't be a
water?
problem.
So Maria, you're saying the bands
I think-
are, a minor will be holding, will be wearing a different color band.
Yes, sir. Yes. The ones that are of legal age and can be drinking will first be ID'd, and they will be issued a band. If that band is lost for whatever reason, it won't be.
We do have a motion on the table made by Mrs. Sines and it's been seconded by Mr. Garza. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
No,
The motion does carry.
my reason is that I wanna keep this a family event, no video.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to 5.3. Thank you, Maria. Appreciate it. Discussion and appropriate action to approve LNV contract. Okay, LNV is our engineer. That's correct.
We've got Julian here in the audience who can probably explain a little bit more about the situation we still have with our sewer plant. Which at this point, we used to joke about it being on life support, but now it's in hospice.
Well,
So,
Well, first of all, this contract is for financing of the new facility. So this would start us on that road with funding from USDA. The contract that I wrote is simpler. USDA wanted a separate contract to be developed specifically for the new wastewater plant. And this is the first steps in that. The USDA wants another environmental report to iron out what was not done in the past, as well as another preliminary engineering report, as well as the audit to be completed. Now, Brenda tells me this morning that the audit's been completed, and that opens up doors to get funding. The time frame is again very short, where USDA has informed us that toward the end of their year, they have leftover monies, and they start to find out who needs the money. And of course, they've allocated monies, I understand, for us, but if we don't move and submit the preliminary report by beginning of August, they wanted it in July, then some of the other people want that leftover money by the end of their federal year, which is September 30th. So the time frame involved is very short to develop this preliminary report. Again, I will also have to include geotechnical services to estimate cost of structures and develop alternatives and explain alternatives to staff, and then recommend those, make final recommendations on what the new plant is going to look like and what processes are going to be involved in that new plant. Once that report is done. Once that report is done and everybody's in agreement on what kind of process, the processes we want for different steps in this new plant, then we move ahead with actual physical design. But, the contract, I guess we've submitted it to the city last, I think it was May 14th in my email to Ramon, and we've been waiting
So
for it to go.
we've talked with the attorney, Mr. Wilson is the one that's reviewing the LNV contract, and he's finalizing the last of those, the verbiage of that contract to make sure that everything is in agreement and that really protects the city. So we're in those final stages, and once we can get that contract, and then we can proceed and do whatever we need to do.
Okay, Raymond, the contract, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Let me start with, when the application to USDA was first submitted, it was for roughly 5.7 million. That plant, when LNV came in and reevaluated the budget presented by Garcia and Wright, it was short about 3 million. There was also certain parts missing. When designing the new plant, we estimated it to come out to about 10.5 million. So we need to amend the initial application to USDA from the city to get additional funding. In order to do that, we had to get our audit done. We are working on a new contract with LNV. This contract is somewhat of a pre-contract. In order to get these funds committed, we need to have certain services by LNV fulfilled, such as a preliminary engineering report, which tells us what kind of plant we're going to have, an environmental review to ensure that the plant does not cause any harm to the environment around the footprint of the plant, and also geotech services, which he just explained to you. So that this contract is needed in order to get funding from USDA.
There was an environmental review, and what was the first one?
Preliminary engineering report and geotechnical services.
One other item, Mayor and Council, is that there's a special operations group from USDA that are working on funding economic, sewer, and water plants. So this is why it's important for us to get this engineering contract signed, getting this done, so we can get that special funding group to come in for us in July and say, yes, they're gonna get this money and we're gonna be able to receive it. So we're trying to step up as much as we can to facilitate everything that we need to do to make this happen, and work with this group. Mr. Luna heads that group of 3, and including one person from Washington and the other person from another part of the region. But their main purpose is to fund these kind of objects, and we're taking advantage of that right now.
So, Raymond, how does our chances look so far?
They seem to be very willing to help us. Of course, I don't want to say anything until we have money in hand. As long as we can work diligently with the engineers, we should have all these reports done in time to receive funding by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, can you
It
tell?
also helps us that we completed the audit, and let me reemphasize, we completed that part of the audit that was so necessary for us to move on, either with USDA or moving on with bonds or other issues, and it clears up the roads to really look at better financing for this project. Of course, as bad as we need the plan, we also want to make sure that we have the proper financing to make this plant go correctly and how it's going to pay itself back.
Okay, explain to Raymond, if you could, please, when you said our plant was in a bad situation, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain to the public everywhere, how bad is it, or how bad was it until LNV came, and what do we look forward to, please?
Due to lack of maintenance over the years, a lot of our mechanics have been failing. This plant was built back in 1979. Roughly 5-10 years later, TCQ added certain nutrient removal requirements to all sewer plants across Texas, something our plant was not able to do. When LNV first came on board, that's the first problem they tackled with us. We never got to find out if the solution that LNV came up with was adequate enough, because as soon as we did the necessary repairs, something else broke down. Our clarifier went out. Whenever that project started to get the clarifier repaired, the blowers went out. LNV has provided us with contractors that can help us at reasonable cost, always on call for us because our blowers are needing repair. Recently, our submersible pumps at our wet wells that bring all the sewer from the city into the plant went out. They're helping us tackle that as well, bringing in contractors. So LNV has been with us since, I would say, new administration has come on.
Okay.
And one thing that I may add is, it's not our part of our maintenance program, because we did have a maintenance program for what we had. But in order to cure this, we have to find out where the source of the cancer is. And when we had the Eagle Ford shell come in, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't identify coming into our sewer that we now have identified and where the source is coming from. Now we're treating the source or going back, and one of the sources is Carrizo Hill. We have a lot of companies out there that are dumping into our sewer system and dumping into the thing, which is eroding our plant even more. There's chemicals and stuff that were outside our own boundaries that we're reporting to TCEQ, and we have to control. That's been the hardest part of it all. Once we identify that and we're working with that, and our code enforcement is coming in and identifying those 3 or 4 companies that are still illegally dumping in the areas, then that's when we start beginning the treatment of our cancer.
Okay, so can you please explain to the everybody here, and especially back home, what was our chemical cost to treat our plant 5 years versus today?
We're spending roughly $300,000
Right now.
in order to mask the smell, essentially from my understanding.
Versus?
I do not believe that was necessarily fixing a problem, but it was masking the smell.
Okay, so you're talking about
it doesn't make sense to, if your mechanics are dying because of chemicals being put into the system, it doesn't make sense that chemicals are going to fix the problem chemicals fix.
Okay.
Or cause.
So you're saying that wonderful smell that we used to have wasn't roses? Or the first cup of coffee in the morning?
Maybe dead roses.
Okay.
Well, roses did to the sewer.
Now, recently, we are not on life support, we're below maybe life support, as Brenda indicated. Right now,
Hospice, sir.
we can't isolate a treatment unit to pump it down to find out what's wrong with it. It's getting to that point where I've developed another solution to get us to where we at least treat acceptably with a temporary system that's different from what it is right now. In other words, we would isolate. Well, we can't isolate even more. We can't pump down one clarifier. The only lone clarifier that we have, normal sewer plants have 2, but our lone clarifier, we can't isolate it even to inspect it. Staff is working now to isolate the aeration basin, which is one process, which is needed to treat the sewage. And once we do that, we can incorporate maybe some gravity flows so we eliminate some of the pumping costs that we're incurring right now. I'm working with the operator and Ramon to get that going. I've developed a schematic and awaiting city staff's okay for me to contact the state about this, because this is no longer a maintenance activity. And it's going to cost quite a bit of money even to get us to where we complete the new plant, which won't happen in 2.5 years or so.
Okay, Julian, I know that you said the chemical cost is up to $300,000.
It was.
It was.
It is no longer anywhere in that range.
The only chemicals out there are the chlorine. And I would think that the chlorine costs are
the chlorine, that's something
like
you
2 or
can't
3.
get away from.
Sure,
That's
you're going to
for
disinfect it. I
Sure.
think it would be
The
running
only
what?
additional chemicals we're purchasing is a polymer to help the sludge settle faster, and we're looking at maybe $1,500 a month at the most.
Wow.
It's not.
20,000. You weigh them down, or
But that's for the chemical costs.
Sure. Okay.
So keep in mind, Mayor, that what you're hearing is that the reason some of that cost has decreased is because LNV has been proactive along with RJ. They have tackled the monster. The monster that existed for 15, 20 years, the bottom line, it wasn't maintained. There was no maintenance on it. That's the bottom line. So because they've been proactive, we're coming to you today to ask you to at least entertain the idea of approving the LNV contract, still allow the attorney to review the rest of the contract to make sure that all T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and also to keep in mind that we still have another audit that we need to get started on. So, there's still some things that we have to get done, and we're losing time.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
We don't know at this point what the contract will be.
Yeah.
Correct?
No, we know, yes, we know what our contract will be,
Right.
plus additional services, it'll be, our basic services will be 707,000 roughly, and plus we'll have additional services that we don't know what they'll iron out.
For this contract that we're bringing to the table today, it's roughly 106,000.
Right, it's 79,000 for basic, and then 15,500 for geotechnical, and the environmental follow-up would be 11,400. So that's about $106,000 for this.
That's for
portion.
these services alone. This would have to come out of the general fund or water budget. But once we receive funding from USDA or whichever source we may go, we can reimburse these funds.
Remember that reimbursement resolution that you passed last year? The one that said that if you expended anything out of general funds, that whatever monies you receive from USDA, that would be reimbursed back into general funds.
And then
So again, Julian, you say that, because I know we're gonna build a brand new $10 million sewer plant. So what can we assure the citizens that the same thing is not gonna happen?
maintenance programs.
It's an asset management and maintenance program, and hiring the staff to continue to do their normal routine mechanical preventive maintenance and cleaning maintenance and observation of different things, checking different things and making record of that.
But if it didn't happen for 20 years, what?
We can't speak for previous administration, but it all starts with the supervision. It starts with John Camarillo and myself.
Oversight.
We implement policies weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, annually. We ensure that these logs are being taken care of.
Proper training.
Exactly. Well, the manual is going through everything with all the workers.
And safety, you know, before we were allowing even kids that were in high school and we were throwing them in there. You know, there just a lot of bad decisions that were being made, but if you have oversight, you have a city manager that's actually involved, proactive as a part of that, along with the team that's overseeing that, plus a council that's also informed and also has oversight on that. All that coupled together, you're gonna have something successful. What you had in the past, we can't speak for anymore. What you have is what you see today, but we can move forward
I
from here.
think hiring and retaining good employees in that way, like Mr. Rios. Mr. Rios is unique because he's a quick learner, and he's absorbed everything that I tell him, being an old operator, what to do, what not to do.
I think Mr. Sanchez brought this up before, and when we came in and we brought this team together, we brought young that are willing to learn. You can see right off that with Ramon coming in from where we got him to learn what he knows now has become the city's investment. An investment that's been paying off 10 times over. But the same thing with Gary, the same thing other people that we're hiring, they're taking pride on what they're doing and they're taking ownership of what they're doing. And they're building a sewer plant that's gonna come back and not only provide a service, but actually turn around and say, now let's sell the gray water. Sorry, Julissa, I used that word.
No gray water.
That's it, no gray water. But we're able to provide a service now, not only to Carrizo, but the surrounding counties and surrounding cities, to provide them not drinking or not using potable water, but using this affluent water that we can use from the sewer plant, to water plants, to do these kind of things and keep our city clean.
So what do we need to do today? What kind of action do we need?
Today, the attorney already has the actual contract that Julian holds in his hands. Attorney is just finalizing some of the verbiage, making sure that that's all okay and that it protects the city. Some of the delay on that contract has been that for a while that we've been meeting and we've been trying to entertain whether some of the stuff that Garcia and Wright had done before, whether we could actually use some of those specs. I mean, there was a lot of the preliminary reports. There was a lot of things that we had to go back and we had to sit down and entertain. And if there was a percentage of it, well, how much of that did we owe them and how much of that could they use? And ultimately, we ended up deciding that there wasn't a whole lot of nothing that they could use because the specs were incomplete.
Well, the drawings were incomplete, the preliminary report, that some of the documentation filed by the former engineer was not consistent with regard to flows, And, I mean, the city council has to make a decision on some incomplete things, and that's part of the problem.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that the council didn't make the decision, because it never came to the council for approval. It was the prior mayor that made that decision for the council and signed off on a contract, and that put us into litigation, because you have the prior mayor making those decisions, but not the council. So I do want to go on record, and not even this council, but whichever council was in existence at that time, was not informed. They were not made a part of that decision. So we just ran into all those problems.
I think that even with the report, LNV will be working with staff, and then when it gets to a point, the proper point to review recommendations on what type of plan that we're recommending, what type of processes we're recommending, what we feel are advantages to the processes that we're recommending. I think at that time, we definitely provide city council with a report and also go review that report with city council at that time.
Okay, so Raymond, you're saying right now the contract is for 160, please?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
Not right on the dot,
It was 105.7, I think.
$105,000.
And 700.
105, not 105.9, 105.9.
So this is, so that we can get in with the USDA.
Yes.
Then this is very important.
It's very important, because they're waiting on us so that they can at least lock us into some form of funding. If we don't do this, now we're looking at taking different revenues, maybe even doing the certificate of obligations. You don't want to do that. We want to proceed, start moving forward, take these steps so that we can at least lock ourselves into something. Because it's going to take, Julian, give or take a year and a half to build the sewer plant, if not more,
to
varying
design
on when
Right.
we start.
Right, about a year and a half for the total design. This is the first step of the design.
Okay, with all being said, then I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the LNV contract.
Okay, we do have a motion on the table made by Mr. Garza to approve the LNV contract.
Okay, can we do that contingent upon the final review of
The
the
final review
attorneys?
with the attorneys, if he needs to add that to his motion.
Yes,
Okay.
Can you add, Mr. Garza, please?
yes. I'll let that, be part of the motion, the review of the contract by the attorney.
Okay. We do have a motion on the table made by Mr. Garza to approve LNV contract with the review of the city attorney.
I second that.
Okay, we do have a second on the table made by Mrs. Sines. Any more discussion?
How far along are you on these reports now?
Well, I'm not supposed to be working
Yeah.
on that, but we've gone with Ramon to different sewer plants. We've got a feel for what the city wants.
Yeah.
I've been researching. I've got an intern doing things. I've been researching myself, mostly on my own time, to get an idea of what processes we put in, some other processes that were presented.
I think what I'm getting at is, we approve this today, how long will it be before you have it ready to get back to USDA? That's what I'm getting at.
Well, the contract says 60 days, so hopefully we'll have something by 60 days to do.
Prior then, sometime in July is what you're saying, but.
No, it'll probably be in August right now. It'll probably be the first part of August.
So you would barely be making the deadlines.
I would have liked to have started already, is what I'm trying to say. Because as I stated before, USDA would have liked to have seen it at the end of July, and then in August they start, they start looking at how they can disperse their monies that are left over. So, we'll try to get something all together with exhibits. There won't be any drawings. There'll just be discussions and exhibits on what types of processes have been evaluated and what we recommend and the estimated cost. As these designs progress, or this design progresses, the costs will be more defined.
Okay.
You don't foresee any problems at all in the near future, right? All that you're doing.
with regard to the new plan?
Yes, or whatever paperwork you're doing to get everything ready. You don't foresee any problems at all?
I don't foresee anything at all.
Well, if you do, be sure and just inform them.
I don't foresee anything getting done.
Just keep them properly informed.
And that's a difficult question for you to answer, Julian, actually, because you don't have any control on what USDA decides. So maybe on your part, yes, but on the part of USDA, that would be more difficult to answer.
Yeah, they have to review the report. You have,
Correct.
the city council gets it first.
Correct.
They approve, and then
Exactly.
it goes there.
It will always come through city
And
council.
then goes to USDA, but with what we can do, maybe when we present the report to city council, if we could ask them if I could send more or less about the same time, so everybody can be moving on.
Okay, we do have a motion on the table made by Mr. Garza, it's been seconded by Mrs. Sines. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian, for all your work.
Okay, moving on to 5.4, discussion and appropriate action to extend contract with Garza and Gonzales.
So you're aware that Garza and Gonzales are the auditors that have just completed our audit. So the only reason I put this on here is to give you one of two choices. Number one, either to allow me to go back to discuss with Garza and Gonzales whether we want to extend their contract, because typically their contract only runs like for a year. They do one audit and then they come back, and in the past, it's been different because the previous auditors were awarded 5-year contracts, and I think that ended up really hurting the city because it was just too long. And as I said to you before, they befriended the administration and you ended up losing at the end. I don't think that's good. I think that every so often you should be switching your auditors because you have a different pair of eyes. But these auditors have come in, they've done a great job. They've made a lot of recommendations. We've had to make a lot of adjustments. You heard that the night at the meeting. So you've got one of two choices here. Number one, either to allow me to go back to sit with the attorney and to look to see, if we can renegotiate and extend another year so that they can start on the audit and we don't get behind again. Or if you want, we can go back and do the request for proposals as we normally do, or an RFQ, put it through the newspaper to see if anybody else expressed interest in wanting to come in to do an audit. But we need to get this done and moved on fast.
Well, I think these people have done a fabulous job
They sure
of getting us out of a lot of mess.
Most cities in Texas go years, if not decades, with a bad audit, and I think they've come in with 5-6 months, 7 months at the most.
Well, 11 months. They've come in, they started 11 months ago when we terminated the others.
Okay, 11
And
months.
it's taken 11 months to clean up a lot of mess.
And that, so in essence, the future councils can move forward with fixing all our streets, all our infrastructure. I know that there had been a question in the community why we hadn't moved forward in fixing the rest of our streets and fixing the rest of our infrastructure. But of course, without, I'm glad there's a video here, because we need to inform the public to let them know that with this audit that we have now, the future is really bright for this community. We, now, without raising taxes, I know that that's a big thing. Without raising the percentage of our tax, we still have a good audit, and the new council can move forward in fixing the rest of our streets. So
I'd like to move that I'm gonna make the motion that we allow the city manager to go back and renegotiate the contract with Garza and Gonzales.
And bring back to the council.
Yes.
Before any decision is made.
Right.
With the favorable,
All right?
outcome and the favorable,
Okay.
I'm
I certainly will do that.
bring it back, yeah.
Okay, we do have a motion made by Mr. Garza. Okay, can I get a second? Is there a second on the table?
I'll second.
Okay, we do have a motion made by Mr. Garza, it's been seconded by Councilman Patlan. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion does carry. Okay, moving on to 5.5, discussion and action to modify Article 2, unsanitary, unsightly conditions, Section 15-27, growth of accumulation of weeds and rubbish. It shall be unlawful for the owner of any lot or premises in the city to allow or permit weed, tall grass, rubbish, brush, or any unsightly, objectionable, or insanitary matter of whatever nature to accumulate or remain on such lot or premises. Tall grass or weeds will not be permitted above 12 inches or higher. Violation of this ordinance is subject to penalties. Mowing and clearing vacant lot rate table.
Okay, so this is something that was presented to me by Jamie Johnson, Code Enforcement, and him along with his team. They just have a lot of concerns that as you drive around, there's a lot of people that have very tall weeds, and it is, you know, falling out of compliance with us. Sometimes it creates fleas and rats, and it just brings on a lot of things. The unfortunate part is that as you look at your charter, you look at the verbiage on this, it really doesn't allow you to charge that person. And what happens is a lot of times they call us and they ask us if we can step in to do something for them because it's so tall, it's so high that they don't even have the equipment to be able to cut that down. Many of these are already abandoned homes, homes that may be burned down. There's a lot of little different scenarios. So what's happening is you've got staff out there, so that's manpower. You have equipment that you're using, and you're not really charging anybody, but yet we have to stay in compliance. So we can't expect code enforcement to enforce that when that property owner has long left, and that property maybe is now delinquent, and you've got the neighbors who are suffering for that because they too are suffering from the rats and the fleas and everything that comes forth. You just have an issue. So what code enforcement has asked me to do is that you have a table in front of you, and in this table it basically divides everything by densities. It gives you from density A to density E. Density A being the lowest of your grass, a little bit of grass, to density E telling you that the grass is 48 inches or higher. And so the table sort of breaks down and it tells you by lot size, okay, roughly, if you had something that you had to go in and mow, take care of, and it was anything between 1,000 to 5,000 square feet, well, how much would that cost you? And so you assess some of those costs, and that person that you're assisting will incur those charges. And so now the city is bringing in those revenues. So you're no longer losing in sanitation like we have before. We've been doing this for so long, but you've never benefited in revenues. So code enforcement is saying to you today, take a look at this. Take a look at the table. We're not being illogical, irrational. We're saying if you're going to have an employee out there and they're going to have to use the manpower and the equipment so that we can stay in compliance and at least meet them halfway by allowing them to charge the resident, the property owner, whatever time we need to get that done.
Okay, so tree trimming, $35 each tree, I think that's reasonable. Tree removal, $75 each, I think that is also reasonable. This disposal fee, $10 work order.
Well, yeah, and basically disposal fee is more like when they're going over to the landfill and they're having to dispose of a lot of this stuff. These are just, the second sheet is like additional charges and services that come with that because, of course, sometimes, you can go into a property and want to mow the lawn, but you can't even see the bigger stuff there. I mean, the actual tree that was so old and fell apart. There's just so many things that we see and we incur, and we've been doing it for free.
Okay.
So they're just asking me to entertain that. And of course, there's going to be other things. We haven't even entertained the fact that there's supplies that we have to use also. There's supplies that we may have to buy and purchase just to get this done. We're not saying that we want to create this little miniature department of code enforcement where all they're doing is out there and they're mowing lawns. We're not saying that. We're saying that there are some property owners who have become very negligent with their properties, whether those homes have burned down, whatever it is. The average person may be really responsible, but there are many homes if you drive around that are not in compliance and they're abandoned, and no matter how many letters you send them and how many times you tell them you're going to give them a citation, you never find them, but it is still a liability.
I think it's a very good idea. I just want to make sure that we're not adding another ordinance or anything, duplicating what is already in the books.
Yeah, you have an ordinance, and the ordinance talks about staying in compliance, you know, making sure that the lawn, the weeds don't grow by certain heights. You have that. What you don't have
It's the actual rate table.
is an actual rate table. That's what you don't have. And that's something we could ask the attorney, if we need to go back and modify that ordinance and add this to that, we can do that. If he says today, you know what, you don't really have to do that, the council has the authority to adopt the table so that we can at least start making some revenues, then we'll do that. So, Mr. Sanchez, did you hear me?
I can barely hear you.
What I was telling the council on this last item that we're entertaining is that they were presented with a table, and on that table it gives them a breakdown of what we would charge that property owner who has not taken care of their homes, who has become very negligent or abandoned their homes, or they just can't be found anymore. It's really become a liability, not only for their neighbors, but for the city, because code enforcement is having to go out there and they're having to take care of these matters. So I was telling the council, there is an actual ordinance, and it just really stipulates that, well, you shouldn't be having your grass so tall and the rubbish and X and Y and Z, but what the ordinance lacks is the actual rate that we as a city can charge them for the manpower and the equipment and all that is entailed to take care of this problem. So the question is, we can pull the ordinance, bring it back to the council, and modify that to add this table, or A, does the council adopt this table today so that we can proceed with taking care of some of the issues we already have? What would be your legal advice for the council?
Well, either option is acceptable. We have an existing ordinance. One motion that the council might entertain is a motion to incorporate those rates into your existing ordinances so that they're basically melded together.
Okay. So then what you're saying to the council is that they can adopt this table today, as it's stated,
Incorporate it into the existing.
ordinance?
Exactly.
Okay.
I think one other item that we probably have to bring in is, eventually we'll come and visit you, a junk car ordinance. But maybe we can adopt it to this, if they have a car there that they're not working on, that we remove it or remove it for them and bring another additional cost for us to help them out. And again, we're here to help them, it's not to try to gouge them or do that. We're not in the business of realty or taking away property, but we have to pay for these costs that are costing us.
But today's agenda is only about what I've given you. That's all it is. What Mr. Chavez has brought up are really good points. Those are things we have to entertain. There's just a lot of things we have to do, but for today, let's just stay focused on this item. And as Mr. Sanchez has said, you know, you can adopt this, but, you know, we need to bring this ordinance back so we can add this table to the ordinance.
Okay.
How to do that? Bring the ordinance back, and says there's any changes that need to be made to it.
Would it be better to just bring the ordinance back?
We can, whatever you desire, we can do. We can bring
I think that'd be
the
nice.
ordinance back. You can
Verbiage will
table
need
it
to
if you
change.
want. We can bring the ordinance back. We'll add the table to it, and then you can take action with that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Another thing that I would like to see on
They
this,
incorporate it all together at the same time, do it all at the same time.
Sure.
yes,
Because then if we adopt this and there's something that may have to be changed,
Sure.
here we go again,
Yes.
let's put it all together one
I
time.
think one thing that needs to be added to this table is that the city will be willing to work with the landowners in working out a payment plan. Because it's gonna be very hard. I just figured out
Yeah.
for an acre of land, it's gonna be $300.
Yes.
I mean, you know,
Yes.
so we need to let these people be able to work it out in a payment plan so that they can proceed and go on with letting the city clean it up and then make payments on that.
So
The
that-
city will be the one doing the cleaning, is that correct?
Yes.
In not in all cases, just what we're really referring to are cases where you've seen those abandoned homes,
Yeah, that's
the
what I'm
burned
getting.
homes, the
Yeah.
homes that really have become a sore eye, but also have become a liability for the neighbors.
Yeah.
We're really looking at those cases,
Okay.
but at the end of the day, it is the job of the code enforcement to drive around and to look to see that, you know, your grass is this tall, and really, if your neighbor is cutting your grass, you should be able to cut your grass as well.
So, but Johnny, you're saying is the city gonna clean up, or we're gonna contract out, is what your question was, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, so you're gonna contract where you're gonna use or whatever. You know,
Well,
I don't
that
know.
would be a mandatory.
I wouldn't want to contract out
Okay, so
because then you're having to
to
pay
pay
that
that.
to, yeah, and you wanna bring the
That's-
revenues back into your budget,
Because
yeah.
you're gonna run into problems if you contract it out. You say, well, why did you use him? Why did you use him?
Exactly.
And you got several people that
Right.
are in the business.
So city, that's what you're saying, city.
The city, sure, that's,
Sure.
that was what I was getting at.
Okay,
Sure.
Who's
so,
gonna do it?
Sure.
The city's gonna actually do the cleaning up.
Yes.
Not contract it out.
Definitely, because they're gonna work in conjunction with code enforcement, and I think the first step is for code enforcement to actually give you that citation. You know, send you the letter, and then tell you, you know, you've got X amount of days to take care of this. Number two, you get the citation.
oh, okay, so Mr. Sanchez, did you have a motion on the table to table?
Yes,
or-
I just want to make sure that, move that, that we go ahead and bring back that motion, the ordinance that we already have, and.
Tied
work
and
into
tabled
this.
into
So
it.
in a way, I guess I'm tabling this right now
Right.
till we bring back the ordinance.
And then also bring it back with trying to, create some type of payment plan for those
Right.
individuals,
Yeah.
because it may be
That's why I
costly.
say work it all out.
Yes.
Okay, we do have a motion on the table to,
I'm gonna second that.
we have a motion, to table to bring back, with contingencies, and it's been
The
seconded.
ordinance.
The ordinance, and we do have, it's been seconded by Mr. Garza. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. At this time, it's, 10:41. Could I get a motion for adjournment, please?
So move.
Okay,
Second adjourn.
Okay, we have the most important, item on the agenda to adjourn. Motion, we have a motion made by Mr. Patlan, it's been seconded by Mr. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries, and thank you everybody for not coughing. And, we'll see you guys so much. Appreciate your
10:41.
time.